Howdy everyone, Matt here. I got a question for you. What do you think about deadlifts? You think they're dangerous and bad or actually something very beneficial? Let's talk about it. All right, everyone. First and foremost, let me introduce myself. My name is Matt. I am Matt the PT, coming at you with another video on another topic of something from the physical therapy world. And this one is about deadlifts. And before we get into that, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you to each and every one of you who have subscribed already. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up button. Now back over to the deadlifts now. So this thing just lingers around in the universe out there. This whole thing about are deadlifts bad or are they beneficial? Okay. And people will line up on one of two sides and they will say deadlifts are bad. They tear up your body. They destroy your back. They injure. They cause more injuries than you could ever get anything out of it. Versus the other people, no, they're beneficial. They make you stronger. They make your body more resilient. They actually helped my back pain. Okay. And people go to these two sides and they will pull all sorts of evidence to support their view of it. Now, recently, this has been going around. Eddie Hall and Robert Oberst were talking about it on Eddie's podcast. And if you don't know who they are, Eddie and Robert are strongman competitors. Eddie had the world record deadlift over 500 kilos, and Robert was a competitor, and he was on a strongman show. And they both have this view over deadlifts. And I'll just share clips of the show right here.
I remember you once said was it Joe Rogan saying that deadlifts were pointless? Was that on Joe Rogan?
No,
was that
I didn't say it like that.
No. I want to get into this because I actually agree with you.
My words, I chose them very carefully. I said, if you're a kid growing, wanting to be athletic, and you want to play sports like football, basketball, baseball, any of those sports, don't do deadlifts. The risk-reward ratio is a fucking joke. Yeah. And then I went further and I explained, I've got tons of NFL friends. I've got tons of friends that play football and tons of friends that play baseball. I don't know any basketball players, but I've seen their studies and stuff. Not one of them deadlifts. They hang clean. They'll side handle deadlift on off season. But I've seen contracts from Pro Bowl offensive linemen that say, if you deadlift, you get this fine.
Yeah.
So, it's just across the board. And billion-dollar corporations understand the risk-reward ratio doesn't work.
In my opinion, unless you're training for a deadlift event, i.e. you are a powerlifter, a strongman, CrossFit, etc., stay the fuck away from conventional deadlifts. It's just like they're just too dangerous.
Now, I think we really need to dissect the whole thing about deadlifts. Okay, we need to dissect this whole thing because I believe really when we get into these arguments and debates over if it's beneficial or not, everyone starts defining deadlifts differently. And the thing is, we are not all trying to understand how you're defining it, or should there just be a universal definition of the deadlift? I mean, and I'm talking like every kind of aspect of it. I'm not talking about like the Webster's definition of it, of just picking the ground, but really understanding how everyone is going about thinking about it. Now, taking these two for an example, I believe we need to look at how they are possibly defining deadlifting and like the training for it. In their sport of strongman, you're trying to deadlift as heavy as you possibly can. All right. So you're trying to deadlift 6, 7, 8,000 pounds or something like that. This insane number. And your training reflects that. You are trying to go heavy in your training to get stronger, to lift a bigger number. And so that's how they can be defining a deadlift. Now, when we look at the other side, and very often these are people maybe in healthcare, there's many physical therapists that we agree deadlifts are beneficial, very, very good for you. There's strength coaches that will say the same. There are chiropractors that say the same, trainers, all that will say the same. And the thing that we may be talking about with a deadlift. It just depends, because if you're like a powerlifting coach or a strength coach, your goal is to train and get somebody that's lifting as heavy as possible. But I would say, like in rehab, if we're going to use a deadlift in a rehab, our goal probably is not to lift as heavy as possible. To not train you for saying, okay, we are only working this to be able to lift 500, 600, 700, but you have to do those high numbers. You can't do it at all unless you can do those extremely high numbers. And think about that. That's two separate things. That they're trying to go as heavy as possible. Other people may be using it as like, no, I like to do for these, this or do that. And we need to take into consideration of how somebody is defining their training. Are they just trying to go as insanely high and as heavy as possible? Or they're like, no, I want to work around here. Now, I actually kind of have a belief, I would say, about a number. I think if you're an adult, that most of the adults, most of the adult population in the world. Now, I said most, okay? I didn't say a number, and you could take that and say what anything. I said most. So it could be over 50%. It could be 51.2%. It could be 96.8521%, okay? But I believe that most adults should be able to deadlift off of the ground 100 pounds, okay? To be able to pick up 100 pounds off of the ground. And really, why is that? Okay. And let's talk about that part of it too. Because think about that functionality of it. And that's something that people, again, will try to start knocking on deadlifts. Say, oh, they're not functional. They're not functional whatsoever. You don't ever do anything like that. But really, deadlift is just we pick up stuff off the ground. That's what a deadlift is. You are picking something up off of the ground. That is all it is. How much, and for anyone who ever says that is not a thing, how often do you pick up things off of the ground? Seriously. How often do you pick up your shoes off the ground? We got spring coming up. How often are you going to be going up, picking up bags of mulch and moving them around out in the yard to do that? How about going to the grocery store and picking up maybe a case of water or a case of soda or a gallon of milk, or you're picking up something like that? Well, you say, well, Matt, that's just kind of one-off things. How about your pet? Okay. How often are you picking up your pet? They want some snuggles and some love. You pick them up. They want that. We'd be like, well, Matt, that's different. Your child. How often are you picking up your child? Your infant, your toddler, your grandchild. How often are you picking them up? Is that not a deadlift? Okay. Shouldn't you be strong enough to pick them up with no issues? What is the actual difference in being able to pick up these things that we deal with in our everyday life versus a barbell? Okay. What is honestly the difference of it? Is it the shape of it? Okay. Is it, well, and I've seen some people argue about this. Well, it's the straight. We don't pick up, picking up a straight bar. No, we don't do that. So somebody I follow had somebody just getting all bent out of shape because this guy talked about like lifting with the straight bar. And I've seen another guy, some bodybuilder musclehead, I'm going to talk about them in a second, that was like, you should never use a barbell because nothing in your body's straight. It's like, that's dumb. That is, what? That makes no sense. Why is it because a bar is straight and the weights are circle that makes it bad? Okay. That's designed for a certain thing. But think about when you get out and pick up stuff. Again, picking up your child. If you picked up a toddler, if you're a parent, tell me about how it is when you pick up that they don't stay perfectly in one shape. They will start kicking and flopping for whatever reason. They want you to pick them up and then they just start flopping around like a fish. And how is that? That's way unbalanced. We're not proportionally balanced with our weight. We're going to weigh more in some areas than other. But a barbell is going to be the same all the way across. If you load it correctly, yeah, somebody going, well, if you load it, if you load it the same stuff on both sides, it's going to be uniform. What about boxes and stuff that you pick up? You ever picked up just like random boxes? They're not always packed and everything's, oh, this is all just perfect in here and the weight's just evenly distributed. Oh, the handles are in this perfect spot to pick it up. No, stuff can be all over the place. So what's the difference really in that it's just a barbell versus anything else? And people talk about, you don't need to have it out in front of you. Again, your kids, you pick up your kids, they're in front of you. You pick up a case of water, it's in front of you. You pick up a box, it's in front of you. What's the difference? Really, honestly, what is the difference? Okay. And if people want to go in and talk about, well, ancient humans, I've seen the people that get into that stuff about, oh, well, the ancient humans, they didn't pick up, well, they, when they killed an animal, you had to pick that thing up off the ground. And again, it's not evenly distributed, but they had to be able to pick it up and put it on themselves or help with others to carry it and to do that. Okay. What is the difference in all of that? What is the difference when a barbell that's everything's just stationary versus things out there that can move and change and cause all those it's all over the place. Another thing that happens is that people start assigning authority to it to say, you're an expert in it and you're not. And typically when it comes to any kind of sporting stuff, people will default to an athlete that did that sport at a high level. But here's the thing that we really need to keep in mind about athletes that get up to the level. There is some luck and benefits that they have had that got them there. Okay. First off, athletes that can reach that level are genetically different. They're going to be bigger, stronger, faster, better VO2 max, quicker reactions. They are going to just be genetically gifted, blessed with all of that. That gives them that advantage. Okay. Some people that make it to the NFL as an offensive lineman, they are just bigger people. Okay. They are bigger individuals. You can't be 5'3" and hope to try to make the NFL as an offensive lineman. No matter what, it's just, you're going to be just behind the 8 ball when it comes to that. We also need to look at some other things, just kind of the luck of the draw on how this athlete made it to that level. The book Outliers is great in talking about this. So it talks about this hockey team that the athletes that made it on it, their birthdays were all around a certain time. And the reason for that is that they were born just after the cutoff date. So the cutoff date was January 1st. So most of these kids were born in January and February. They have an advantage over someone who was born in December of the same year. So one kid is born in January of a year, we'll say January of 2000, and then the other one was born December of 2000. That one that was born in January, 11 months of development. Okay. We should, the milestones and how children develop. They have an 11-month head start over that other child that is born in December. So they can end up being a little taller, a little faster, this more coordinated just because they were born at a certain time. And then what benefits does that give them? Again, that kid's probably going to be one of the more outstanding athletes when they play, that they kind of stand out because again, they're just developing faster. So they can just do better than some of the other kids. What's that give them? Gives them chance to play on maybe more elite teams, get access to better coaching, more training. So they're going to get those things just because of when they are born. We also got to think about where they're born. Okay. Michael Phelps is a pretty good example. He was living in an area near a pool, near a facility that he could go train. If you're born out in the middle of nowhere where there is no pool, you probably won't become a great swimmer because you don't have nowhere to go. You don't have the facilities. Coaching. Do you happen to have somebody who is a coach or training facility or just any of that? And again, as athletes start going along, people start kind of fading out. I did track in college. That's where I could say like, okay, possibly my ceiling is here. Okay. Because there were guys who were so much bigger than me, so much stronger than me. And it's like, I hit my cap on it. I made it to that level, Division I athlete. I made it to that level, but I know it's like, it's going to take so much more to go beyond that. And I don't have skills. I was actually competing around the time Christian Cantwell and Carl Myerscough were competing. So these guys are enormous, which is bad. Christian Cantwell, his son is about to go, I think he's a junior or maybe he's a senior, and he's throwing 70 feet in high school. And it's like, yeah, look at his genetics. Okay. Genetically gifted kids in high school benching 500 pounds. Look at his coach, his dad. Look at what he has. Okay. And truly and honestly, he could probably do almost anything and he would do pretty well. He could train with just like, I just do yoga all day and still throw 65 feet. And people are like, well, we just got to do yoga. You can't do that. And so that's the issue when we start looking at athletes as an authoritative figure in this, that they just have the abilities, they've had the chances that allowed them to get up to that level. That's where I've seen some people talking about, like looking up, powerlifting training programs from these like elite athletes. They're like, you shouldn't buy them because it works for them. Okay. They trained like this and they probably would have got stronger with no matter what they did. You need to find something that works for you. So we really need to take that into consideration. It's like, yes, this person made it to this high level with the deadlifts, but there's reasons why. Again, genetics, their abilities, the facilities that gave them the chance to reach that other level. But there's individuals, and I've seen people start knocking on therapists who talk about deadlifts. Well, you're not a world's strongest man competitor. You don't have 15 gold medals and do this. No, but we understand the mechanics of it, the benefits of it. We understand what goes on and to teach it. Okay. That carries a ton of weight on understanding actually a lot of the science behind it, outside of just somebody's like, well, yeah, I can just do a lot. Also, when those athletes start talking about the risk reward thing. Now, first off, people like using it, that risk reward. Oh, no, because the risk reward. I have yet to see people really define the risk. They don't list out anything. Okay. I think we need to do that. We need to say when somebody says, okay, put all the risks from, it doesn't need to be in any particular order. Just put them all on there. Put all the rewards, put everything, everything you think of. Let's just put them all on there and start comparing. Okay. Let's really, really break that down and really look at all those stuff. Yes, there are going to be people that come forward and go, oh, I hurt my back so bad with it. It's never been the same. I herniated a disc with it. I have all these, I can't walk because of this. First off, that's along the lines of saying like playing the lottery is a good retirement plan. Okay. Because there's people who win the lottery. All right. Would you take financial advice from somebody that just got lucky and put some numbers on a card and won? When they say, well, yeah, you should just go play the lottery to do it. Does that make any sense? No. Okay. Anyway, yes, there's going to be people that come out to say, oh, they hurt themselves doing it. But what gets lost with that? We should know pain and injury and things like that are multifactorial. Was it just the deadlift? Was it just that few seconds that you spend with the bar in your hands and doing all that? But could it have been a variety of other things? What is their training load? Okay. Again, when we look at a lot of these like pro athletes, bodybuilders, strongmen that do this stuff, they sometimes train insane intensities, insane workloads. Okay. And they often can do that as well because they're using a steroid. Steroids help you recover faster. So yes, you can recover faster so you can train harder. So we have to take it effect. They are doing those things because they have some, additional help. That's what I saw somebody talking about, like all the Russians and all them back in the day, how they were able to train like this, the Bulgarian method where they're training heavy, like 6 days a week. And there's like, yeah, because they were on a massive amounts of steroids and that was helping them. Okay. That was helping them recover. You can't train like them unless you are taking the stuff like them. Okay. That's why people are getting hurt. So, one, they're training insane. Two, they could be taking something to help them. Also, whenever bodybuilders talk about exercises or something being dangerous, people always leave out. Those people are on a massive amount of steroids, a massive amount. And they don't, it's kind of, it's not a well guarded secret, but they're on that. Steroids have a detrimental effect on connective tissue. Okay. They can weaken connective tissue, allows you to recover faster and build muscle, but it can wear down on the other tissue. So whenever they start saying, well, this is bad because I got hurt. Okay. How much of that were you doing? Okay. How much of that were you doing? Now, we may even pull back from the pro athlete thing or the elite athletes, and we talk, regular person goes in the comments, oh, I hurt my back deadlifting. Okay. How much of your workload were you doing? Like, how was your training? Were you trying to go heavy all the time, along with trying to work and take care of your family? How was your sleep schedule? Are you sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night? Because lack of sleep has been shown to lead to increased risk of injury. How is your nutrition? How is your stress management? So we looking at all of these other things to say, let's look at all of this to see if this has a correlation over to why somebody had this injury. That just gets lost so much. I know my view on deadlifts is that they are very beneficial. There is so much that we do, okay, that we bend over and pick up things. I will tell you, I have seen more people who have come in for therapy who hurt their back picking up one of three things: a piece of paper, a pencil or a pen, or a paper clip. More people have been in there for picking up less than 5 pounds than I have ever seen trying to pick up over 100 pounds. I'll tell you right now, if you talk to any therapist, I could almost guarantee you they have had more people picking up a light thing who hurt their back than ever trying to pick up something extremely heavy, right? Now, granted, yes, doctors may say, well, I see all this stuff with deadlift. You can get this, this kind of bias thing that goes on. And we really need to, one good example is like when CrossFit was really popular there for a while. Everyone's like, well, CrossFit's so dangerous. Well, you're just paying attention to it. It's like, when you get a red car, all of a sudden you're seeing all these red cars. If you're just looking for it, yeah, you're going to start seeing that all the time. But I would tell you, more people hurt their back picking up light things because their bodies are weaker. Their backs are weaker. They don't train them when they go to the gym. They may go to the gym, but they're like, I don't want to train my back because I don't want to hurt it. If you don't want to hurt it, make it stronger. I did see a dumb argument that a functional patterns person once was trying to make. They were trying to catch somebody in a gotcha moment of like, how many people do you just have deadlifts and all that? And it's like, the question is, it depends. Okay. It's not everybody. You're trying to say, oh, every therapist just broadly does it for everybody. They just do it for everybody. No, not everybody needs to train it at these insane levels or heavy levels or light levels or medium. They're all different. They're all different. I know I said not in there, but they train them very, very specific. Okay. And I'm just going to go with this. I want to know your opinions on them. Okay. What is your opinion on it? I think, again, deadlifts are extremely functional. We need to be doing stuff, picking up stuff off the ground. Do you need to train insanely heavy at 90, 95%, 100% of your max? If you don't want to, then don't do it. That's the thing. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it heavy. If you're just like, I want to go in there and do trap bar deadlifts with 100 pounds on it, good for you. Go do that. If you're like, no, I want to see how heavy I can go and I'm going to train and I'm going to work and I'm going to work on my form and I'm going to get better, good for you. Do that. Do something. Make yourself stronger. And I would believe this. If we all these people start exercising and moving and doing all that, let's deal with the problems that come from that once we get everybody moving and being active. Then we'll deal with the problems from that. Right now, we need to get more people. And so whenever we start looking, people start demonizing the deadlift. Just start breaking it down. Okay, why are you saying that? Break it down. Let's just dissect every little aspect of it. Very often it's just a belief that they have. Maybe they hurt themselves on it. But again, let's dive into why you hurt on it. Were you sleeping enough? What's your training load looking like? Where are you looking with your technique? Now, technique's kind of a thing to kind of go all over the place. All of that. Look at all this. Oh, this pro bodybuilder. This person said that they can make that assumption. They can say that. It doesn't mean that you should train like them. If you do train like them, you would probably never make their level on it. You would have to train what's going to benefit you the most. Anyway, let me know that down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you a copay. And until next time, take care of yourself. Take care of your patients. I'll see you then.